All right, welcome everyone. It's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for the May Planning Commission meeting. We're going to start off with a word of prayer from Faith Baptist Church Pastor Justin Haley. Pastor Haley, if you would come up to the front. Everyone please stand. We'll join me in prayer, then the pledge.
Father God, I just want to thank you so much for who you are. I just thank you for this opportunity to be able to gather here today and discuss everything that's needing to be discussed. I pray that you give everyone wisdom and the things that they need to speak about and all the issues that they need to cover. Father, I pray that you give them grace in all of their endeavors. Father, I pray that everything is done decently, everything's done in order, everything's done respectfully, with concern to our fellow citizens, fellow neighbors. Father, I thank you so much again for this opportunity. And I pray all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Laura, if you would go ahead and do roll call.
Byrd. Here. Lowe.
Here.
Prater.
Here.
Knack.
Here.
Young.
Here.
O'Gwen.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum. If I could go ahead and get approval of the meeting minutes from our April Planning Commission meeting. Those went out in your packets. If you got any corrections or amendments, please let me know. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner
Second.
Lowe. Second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call, please.
Byrd. Yes. Lowe.
Yes.
Knack.
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
O'Gwen.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, the minutes are approved. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. It is 7:02, and first line of business, Laura.
North Lincoln Street, Shiloh Point, rezone from C2 General Commercial to R2S Residential Medium Density Single Family. Lemons Engineering. Okay, this is a rezone request for a piece of property that is located on North Lincoln Street. It is also adjacent to the Shiloh subdivision on Chelsea Lane as well. The future land use map has this classified as planned development. The property is approximately 2.46 acres in size. Again, is currently zoned C2 General Commercial. They are asking for a rezone request to residential medium density single family detached. As you can see in the packet, they have submitted a sketch for proposal of about 11 residential lots that would front on Lincoln Street, and then 4 lots that would front on Chelsea Lane. Other than that, you can see in the packet they addressed a few comments that staff had. Mr. Lemons is here if you have any questions for him. Again, this is a rezone.
All right, thank you, Laura. Mr. Lemons?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. It's a privilege to be here tonight. And as Ms. Noble said, we've come up with a rough draft of a concept plan. Of course, this is not anything that is in concrete, but what we would like to do is to get 11 residential lots on this piece of property. Presently, it is zoned C2 commercial, and so we believe that being next to Shiloh subdivision, going to residential would be a better fit. So therefore, be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Lemons, just to clarify, it is just in that corner there, the adjacent lots there to the south of it, of the C2. That's still C2.
Right. That my client does not own that property.
Okay.
And my client is here tonight, Mr. Schmidt, so if you have any questions that I can answer, I'm sure he'll be glad to jump up and enlighten you.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right. Is anyone here to speak for or against this item? If you would, please state your name and your address.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Mark Lebinsky. I live at the corner of Confederate and Chelsea. And I'll say first, thank you to the engineers and the buyer of this property. We appreciate that we're not here talking about gas stations and convenience, or storage facilities. So we do have a little bit of concern, and maybe it's addressed in the staffing. I didn't see a package this afternoon. We're just working with what was available earlier to us. So a little concern with R1 versus the R2S built right next to Shiloh. Oh, no problem. And the fact that it borrows the name, the UDC does talk about that. I'm not trying to quote to the commission because I'm sure you're all familiar, but there is some discussion in the UDC about street names and subdivision names. And so part of the concern is just protecting our investment. So we live in Shiloh and it's R1. And so it's going to be R2S called Shiloh Point or Shiloh Points, plural. And there are no rental or R2 style properties throughout the subdivision. And so we're concerned about making sure of that delineation, unless the builder wants to have a Shiloh Phase 4 with a bill of assurance or covenants, whatever goes along with that, to build out Shiloh and actually use that name. Some of the other concern we have is more personal to the property. There are springs in the property across the street where they want to build, and most of that floods down across Chelsea Lane into our property. And we've worked with Jeff July before he retired, and Miss Karen, I don't remember her last name, from the street department. And they've often had to come out on work orders and dig behind our property and add fill to the land from the springs and the storm water washing out back there. So I know that Mr. Lemon said this is a very preliminary sketch, but we're concerned for lack of stormwater management built in there, and the terrain of the land and how that would impact us. So it's really just trying to protect the investment. And maybe as this matures and it goes through the staffing, maybe I'm cart before the horse. We just want to make sure that some of those concerns are addressed.
Yeah, just for instance, I'm trying to see the number up there. Like, it looks like between 2 and 3, this is all across from our driveway. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the corner. I think it would be like 2 and 3. I'm sure you guys have seen it through town. They've had to put the yellow and black markers there because kids cut across the edge of that property and they cross the bridge with the giant tree that has tons of water underneath that's now slated to have a full house right there. And all that water goes under our house, under our yard. It pops up all the time. It's actually been quite interesting. We've had the water company come out, check to make sure there's not breaks over there from people driving on that side of the property. When the cable companies just came through, they barely went along the front of our property that's on the edge of that, and it created like a geyser underneath, and we had a full front lawn of just water from the water coming from the adjacent property underground from just disturbing it a little bit. So we're really concerned that, and we have a sloped down driveway, that's just going to come even more across with us. And like Mark said, the naming of it at the UDC, it says that it can't have a name of the subdivision next to it or a similar street name. So we thought it was a little odd that they would piggyback off a very settled development in our town that already is established as an R1. And like I think a couple other people are going to talk about their concern of all these driveways on North Lincoln. We're not as worried over on Chelsea because it's a dead end, but up on North Lincoln, those 7, especially that corner one on that crazy corner, and these short driveways, it seems very dangerous to us. And that was part of the problem we had with that giant apartment complex coming out at that same corner, those same areas, with the increase in traffic, which we're still having a problem with in our development, even with the added stop signs that folks might know about in Shenandoah. Now they cut that and they come over on Confederate to the Chelsea area, and it's now tripled in the last few weeks. So that's all we have. We just have a lot of concerns, but we didn't see the answer, Stan, is there's no new streets on this. It looks like they're all tiny driveways going out, like 1-car driveways almost, which you might be able to answer, because we're not engineer experts.
Sure. Yeah, this is a rezone. So at this point, that's a preliminary sketch, and it could change next time it's submitted. So right now, we're just here to address just the fact that it's going to go from C2 to R2.
R2P.
We're super happy with houses.
We're totally happy. We just are have small, I guess, just concerns that we just didn't know how to address them other than coming to the board to say, this is what we saw in the UDC, and we thought it was a few oddities that we didn't understand.
Sure, if you'll let Mr. Lemons give a response on each one of those line items. So we got, yeah, the R2 designation is based on size and density, correct, Laura? That's the reason that is R2, not R1.
As far as the name Shiloh Point, that was just something for us to give this piece of property to start with. I'll get back with my client. We'll see if he would like to go with a different name. We sure don't want to confuse, or anyone that's already living in Shiloh. And as far as stormwater management, yes, you're right, Mr. Chairman. That will be addressed if this is approved and we come back with a revised plan. Then yes, we will be addressing that with detention and French drains and whatever else is needed to not make the problems any worse for people downstream.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lemons.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else here to speak for or against this item? Again, if you would, please state your name and your address.
My name is Eric Park. I live on 28 Gum Street. I got to say, when I saw the sign going for rezoning again, I was like, here we go again. But I was initially delightfully surprised to see that it was not trying to be turned into an industrial rezoning or some high-density complex. Didn't know what an R2S was, so I had to look into it. And when I figured out what it was, I was more happy than the other R's. But I still wish it would be an R1 rather than an R2S just because of the density. We have traffic flow issues, we have driveway issues, we have water flow issues, we have lots of issues there. And the biggest issue that I even worry about is the precedent issue. Because every meeting I've come to here the last few years for rezoning, not this property, but the ones all around it, was using this property as the reason why the others should be allowed. That's already zoned for commercial, therefore we should be allowed to do this. That's already zoned for that, therefore we should be able to do this. That's the biggest thing I worry about in the long term is once you open up Pandora's box, everything around there is either R1 or school. I'm not even sure how that one originally got the commercial zoning because I've lived there for 30 years. I'm not sure how that snuck in. Things do sneak in once in a while, even though you try to pay attention. That is my biggest concern, is that there is a lot of acreage that surrounds that is still R1. If it were to become something more than R1, which the biggest fear and the biggest draw has always been the higher density ones, well, this seems like a little stepping stone to that. If we got R2, maybe next time we can go for R3, R4, and just keep going. Once we open up the box, there it goes. The area is R1, has been R1, and or school district. So it would just be nice. I realize you can squeeze in 11 lots with the R2S. The R1, I don't know what the minimum size for an R1, but just looking at Shiloh, I would think you could squeeze 7 or 8, somewhere around there in there. Standard R1s, high value homes just like that. It just seems like it would be nicer. I am delightfully surprised it's going towards residential single family than anything else. But I would still strongly encourage to move towards, to make the landing point actually R1. Because I know you want to sell something for as much as you can, but I do believe one of those homes in Shiloh just sold for $500,000 or $600,000, and surely you can do that and not have as many driveways in that curve, because that is a dangerous curve too. And the closer that home is to the street front, that is not an average street. Even though the posted speed limit is 25 miles an hour, that is not the average speed that people go around that curve. And it's an uphill curve on both sides, so it's a blind curve. So there's all kinds of safety issues there. My street comes out just around that curve, and I cannot even begin to leave my home at certain times of the day. So I cannot imagine how anybody there would be able to leave their home. From that point of view, it seems like you should figure out how to get all the driveways out the back rather than on the road, no matter what the designation is. But the bigger The fewer lots, the better, just because there are so many flood issues, so many crowding issues, and that curve is just, and the word precedent scares me more than any of those other issues, even more. Because I've been in here at least 5 times for rezoning on the other land, and that little piece of land's always used as the precedent, why they should be allowed to do the next thing. And that's my thoughts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Park. Just a point of clarification, the land use plan that the city's adopted is really our point of precedence as far as what zoning goes where. I think that one's been zoned C2 probably before even the land use plan was approved back years ago. Mr. Lemons, you want to address some of those other issues? I think the other issues may be the layout and driveways. I mean, that,
Right.
again, this is a sketch plat.
Right. And one thing I would like to point out as far as the driveways, whether it's R1, R2S, in both situations, we have a 25-foot front setback as measured from the right-of-way. So therefore, whether this is R1 or R1S, the driveways are still going to be the same length. So, I mean, we could look at, if my client is so inclined to do so, we could look at making that along, I call it 38. Of course, it's not 38 anymore, Lincoln. We could look at maybe making that a 30-foot setback instead of a 25. That would give a little bit more depth, but that's something we would look at the preliminary plat phase.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lemons. Anyone else here to speak for or against this item?
I'm Garrett Park. I live on 1206 North Lincoln. I'm actually directly across from this lot. I actually am going to thank the investor from definitely changing it from C2 to R2. I really am happy to hear that he's changing it to residential. So I don't want to put this in a negative way. Kind of like the rest of them, I have the same concerns, especially living right on that curve. And my driveway comes right smack in the middle of that lot. And I do understand this is a sketch as well. It's always subject to change. So again, if there are any, I'm actually surprised there have been no accidents on that curve. And especially with the speed limit being 25, I see people going around that curve around 50 miles per hour. I'm just waiting for someone to take off on that curve. And even at 30 feet away, they're going to end up in someone's living room. I hate to say it. Me and my wife actually sit outside. We see police officers posted on each side of that route, and they go back and forth pulling people over. It's pretty much a party when they do it. And again, I'm glad they're changing it to R2, but is there a reasoning on why we couldn't look into keeping it as R1? I do realize they do need to make a return on their investment, so I'm all for it. Or maybe limiting it instead of having 11, maybe skipping it down to 9, just giving a little bit more effort to having it look more like R1 instead of having it all compact. There is a very big difference between R2, having it all the homes squeezed together compared to having R1 to how spacious the lots are. So, and I do realize some of us also are a little afraid of our value of our homes. I know this may not directly correlate with having R2 so close to R1, but we do realize it kind of does at the same time. So I'm just more concerned on, first, the value of my home, but also the safety of the homes on that main line. And again, even if they put the driveway off to another street, just having the home so close to that road, and I live on that road. I see the traffic, it's backed up all the time, so I know traffic is already an issue. So having more houses compacted close, I don't think will have any help to the congestion that we already have. I see the congestion off the road, especially during school hours, going off into Shiloh. I know they're not supposed to do that, but they do it anyway. I also see them going down Gum Street, trying to get off Campbell. I know they're not supposed to do that either, but it does. It happens. So we're already having congestion issues. And I just don't see how having it so many more houses compacted directly on that main road is going to help. And again, Again, with opening this to R2, I know it will open up the lots behind it to R2 as well. It's just going to happen. I've lived there for just shy of 9 to 10 years, and I've already been here 3 times for rezoning in this same area. So I know it is a precedent and will continue to be so, and I'm okay with it. I would just like the investor to see, is there maybe a way to keep it R1? Because I do understand this is still under development and planning issues. But I'm happy to see that he's changed it from going to R2 instead of keeping it C2 or even worse. So.
Thank you, Garrett. Any other comments of for or against that have not been discussed already? All right. Thank you all for your comments. Appreciate that. Tim, is there anything else you want to add to?
Just a point of clarification. Yes, we are asking for the R2S single-family homes, and the reason for that is because this is a very unusual shaped piece of property, and we were I was very pleased when Mr. Schmidt came to see me, because I worked up a commercial site plan on this property about 15 years ago, maybe 20, and it was never developed, and I'm very glad because, in my opinion, it's with the growth that we've seen out there, I believe it would have not worked. And so when he came to me and said, I bought the triangle, as we call it, and he said, I want to make it houses, I was very pleased, because it's definitely a step in the right direction. But we are asking for the R2S because of the value of the property and the unusual shape. We need to get 11 lots if at all possible. One other thing I'd like to point out, and I understand that, you know, this property has been discussed tonight as the precedence for everything else. I can't tell you what the future holds. I can just tell you that my client owns this piece of property and only this piece of property, and this is what he wants to do with it. It's 2.5 acres. The land that is south and southeast of this property that I believe is presently zoned commercial, that's owned by somebody else. We're not here representing that. I just want to make sure you understand that we are just asking for this parcel only. Be glad to.
Yeah,
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Commissioners have any questions? Yes, sir.
What's the minimum lot frontage for R2 versus R1?
So on R1, the minimum lot width at the building line is 75, R2S is 60.
So with the R2S, you're able to get more lots along the frontage of the highway, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm not so opposed to the zoning of the property, I'm more opposed to the more driveways onto the road there. You know, if you look at something to get rear access to these houses or something like that, to limit the number of driveways to that, I think that'd be a lot more attractive to everyone else.
You know, that's something we'll look at the preliminary plat phase. Right now, we're showing 7. It's definitely not going to go up. I can assure you of that. And one thing I would like to point out is on the R2S, 6,000 square feet is the minimum lot size. All of our lots are 6,500 and up, and some of those are even substantially above an R1 lot.
Yeah, that was going to be my same comment too. Is I was glad to see this going towards the residential, zoning. I think that's going to be a lot more compatible of a use next to the other neighborhoods. And I think, Mr. Lemons, you've heard the comments from the neighbors about trying to keep this in looking as cohesive with the other adjacent properties. So as we move into the next phase, whether this is approved or not, keeping that in mind in terms of how the layouts look and how the zoning is handled.
Certainly.
Commissioners have any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Prater. Do you have a second? Second from Commissioner O'Gwen. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Lowe,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
All right, 5-0. The rezone is approved. Thank you. All right, it is 7:24. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing and move on into Planning Commission old business. Laura?
Preliminary plat lots 2A, 2B, and 2C, Parkview Place, Lemons Engineering. Okay, this is an item that was tabled from last month's agenda. Again, this is a preliminary plat for lots 2A, 2B, and 2C of Parkview Place. This is a vacant piece of property located on Campground Road. This property was actually rezoned. This looks familiar because y'all actually approved a rezone back in March, and the city council actually just fully approved the rezone 2 weeks ago for this piece of property. So it is been rezoned for this replat, or this preliminary plat that they are wanting to put 3 homes on. There are a few outstanding items in the staff report. One specifically is to have utility extension drawings provided to the Cabot Waterworks Department for review, and then just our standard comments as far as having this certification signed. But other than that, everything else has been addressed. We are looking at some property that is in the floodplain, and Mr. Lemons can address how that will be taken care of if you have any questions for him.
Thank you, Laura. Mr. Lemons, anything you want to add to that staff report?
Yes. We are going to have to extend the sewer to approximately 200, 250 feet to get to this property, and we will get with Mr. Joyner to provide him with what he needs, and of course send it to the health department, of course. As far as addressing the flood zone issues, we have on that preliminary plat the elevations that we plan on bringing the pads on these lots up to, which is 2 feet above the base flood elevation. So that will be addressed as well. And of course, this will go to FEMA for their okay as well. Be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lemons. Commissioners have any questions? Seeing none, I'd recommend a motion to approve with the staff contingencies.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve, Commissioner Lowe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Knack. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Prater,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, the preliminary plat is approved. Next item of business, Laura.
Site plan, Lot 15, Gateway Commercial, Lemons Engineering. Okay, this item was another item that was tabled from last month. This is Lot 15, Gateway Commercial. It is located along Gateway Drive, which is just north of the intersection of Highway 5 and 167. This is a site plan that they are wanting approval for 140 boat RV storage units, also with landscape and driveway improvements along Gateway Drive. In December of 2022, the City Council approved a special use permit on this property to allow for boat and RV storage on the site. So it does have a special use permit to allow this within the current zoning of the property. There are some outstanding items in the staff report. The one major item is that the applicant is asking for the parking surface to remain as a gravel surface instead of being a hard surface as required in the UDC. They do need to supply a proper landscape plan, and then a couple more light poles along Gateway Drive. But the other outstanding comments that are in the report are minor comments that are typical to the staff reports. Other than that, the hard surface, they will have to ask for a waiver on that before that can actually be approved, because that is an item that they are wanting to ask, I believe, for a waiver or a variance on.
Yes.
Other than that, Mr. Lemons can address anything that you have questions on.
Thank you, Laura. Tim?
Yes, lights along Gateway, absolutely. We'll add a couple more lights there. Landscape plan, I'll have to get with Laura. We thought our landscape plan was complete, but if there's additional information, we'll be glad to provide it. But I think the sticking point here is the request that we are allowed to gravel everything that is behind the fence. Now, everything from the fence out to Gateway Drive, that will be hard surface. In fact, I believe concrete, That's what y'all had planned on? So the driveways into the facility are going to be concrete. So what we're looking for is just graveling on the back. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason is the reduction in runoff. If we hard surface that back there, that's going to make the detention facility even bigger and will increase the runoff. So therefore, being that this area is somewhat low, we would like to use the gravel there. Also, maintenance on this facility with the vehicles that will be turning in here with the tight radiuses, and they're going to be pretty heavy, like Winnebagos, and I'm sorry, I don't know what the industry term is. I just call everything a Winnebago. That's all enclosed. But anyway, with the turning radius on those, we're concerned that it would possibly deter the asphalt, and so therefore gravel can be fixed quite easily. And so for that reason, we're asking for gravel behind the fence. And I believe the property to the south of this, which is BCRV, very similar situation. They're building, from their building out to what was outside the fence was paved, and everything behind the fence was graveled. So it's somewhat similar to what we did for BCRV about 2 years ago. And the owners are here tonight. If there's a question that you have that I cannot answer, I'm sure they'd be glad to jump in. But we appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Lemons. Commissioners have any questions?
I guess I have a question about the tightness in there. Is this, I know you've engineered it, but have you got enough room to pull a big motor home and
We check the turning radiuses on the buildings,
yeah.
and yes, I mean, it's going to be tight, but they can maneuver through there. And we are going to put pipe bollards up at the corner of each building to make sure that the building is protected. But yes, turning radiuses, it does work.
So are these open pull-through buildings, or are they actually enclosed?
They're going to be pull-throughs.
Okay.
Just for that, assist in the maneuverability, except for the building that's along the north, that will be enclosed. That one, you're going to have to back into it. There's just no way to get that to pull through.
So all gravel, even at the places where the buildings are located, the shelters?
Yes, we'd like to gravel those as well, yes.
where is that water runoff going? Is it?
Everything right now, it's kind of strange. There's actually a ditch that runs between this property and BCRV, but just a very small part of this lot actually drains to that ditch. Probably 90% of it drains to that northeast corner where we have our detention. And then from that, it goes out into the land that is behind Kiko's, and then eventually makes its way over to, I guess it's White Oak Branch. But our detention area is designed to accommodate, the 25-year storm is what the city requires. Our pond will accommodate a 100-year storm.
Is that what that is, a retention area back in that corner?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, because I know there is a flooding problem back in that area.
Right. And that's another reason that putting hard surface there would just potentially make it even worse. I mean, there's a little bit of savings. Asphalt, we're taught to use 90% of that runs off. With gravel, we can use about 70%, but 20% doesn't sound like much, but on a site this size, it could be quite a bit.
So some of the site is access controlled, that's why you have gates.
Yes, we will have gates.
How is it controlled? How do people get in and out of the gate? Are they stopping in the roadway, parking, blocking the roadway to get in? How's that working?
Well, the gates are recessed in approximately 40 feet, so therefore they should have enough room to pull off of Gateway. Now, are y'all going to use a key punch? They're going to have a key punch there with a code for automatic gates.
Are they cantilever gates or swing gates? Do you know?
Cantilever.
Okay. And I'm assuming the rest of the property is fully fenced with a chain link,
Yes.
6 foot? No razor wire or anything like that? Razor wire or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, 6 foot chain link, 3-strand barbed wire across the top.
You said, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
6 foot chain link, 3-strand barbed wire across the top.
Okay.
And you talked about lighting in the front. is there lighting throughout the,
Yes, we have wall packs planned on each building. It's kind of hard to see on that drawing, but they're there. Oh, and Miss Liz, I told you that the building on the north would be back in. Actually, the building on the east is going to be a back end as well. So there are 2 buildings that will not be drive-through. The rest of them will be.
The 2 at the perimeter.
Yeah, the 2 perimeter ones, yes. Now, one on the south will be a drive-through. We're able to get a drive around the back of it.
Commissioners, have any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Lemons.
Thank you.
No other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve with the staff contingencies as discussed.
motion to approve with those contingencies.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Prater. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Byrd. A roll call vote, please, Laura.
And for clarification, we are understanding that a waiver or variance does have to be applied for the gravel.
We thought that with this submittal that it would, because it was well documented in our cover letter, on our previous cover letter, that we are asking for a waiver.
That's not a Board of Adjustment waiver. That's an approval at this body.
Right, it shouldn't be a variance, it should be a waiver. Variance has to go to Board of Adjustments.
Right. Just want to make sure we don't have to go Board of Adjustment. All right. Commissioner Prater, you amend your motion to reflect
Are we going to amend
a
it
waiver.
to waive that?
Yes.
Yes, I have no problem with
Commissioner
that.
Byrd? you second
Second.
that? All right. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Connect,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, the site plan is approved. All right, next item under Planning Commission, new business. Laura?
Preliminary plat, Going Springs, Lemons Engineering. Okay, this is a preliminary plat for a subdivision of, that is approximately about 40 acres in size, that is currently unimproved along Mountain Springs Road. It also is adjacent to James Drive, the west side of James Drive. They are proposing a preliminary plat with design drawings and drainage for a proposed R1 subdivision. They are looking to develop 112 lots with a couple common areas for stormwater detention. In the staff report, there are some outstanding items that are still in there. We asked about a phase line, and Mr. Lemons is uncertain at this time if it's going to be developed fully or if it's going to be phased out. There is some more right-of-way dedication that still needs to be given for James Drive as well as Mountain Springs. There's some easement issues that still need to be addressed, as well as in our code of ordinances for loops and cul-de-sacs that exceed 750 feet in length. The site distance is not met with these curves that are shown within the preliminary plat. There were a lot of comments on this subdivision, but Mr. Lemons did address a good amount of the comments, but there still are a few outstanding comments that need to be addressed with staff. Other than that, Mr. Lemons can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Laura. Mr. Lemons?
Yes, on the items that Ms. Nobles brought up, a couple items I'd like just to present for clarification. We are unsure if this development is going to go in complete at one point or if there was going to be a phase line. However, we will be more than glad to provide the city with a phase line when that decision is made. And we hope that decision will be made here in the next 30 days. So the phase line, that should take care of itself. The right-of-way, we're dedicating, based on the preliminary plat on Mountain Springs Road, we are dedicating 30 feet. There's 25 feet right now from the center line of the road to the property line, but there's also a 5-foot right-of-way dedication that we're adding. So on Mountain Springs Road, we're giving 30 feet. You'll see that little thin slither that's in front of It's kind of hard to see with the sidewalks and everything there, but at this scale, but there on lots 1 and 112, there is a 5-foot right-of-way dedication that we are dedicated. It says right-of-way dedication per final plat, which gives you the total of 30 feet. And then the same on James, we feel like we're giving the entire right-of-way, a 30-foot right-of-way there. It's kind of strange because the road actually curves onto this property in the vicinity of Common Area C and 54, so we're actually given more than the 30-foot that we would normally dedicate because they own all the way to the other side of the street. So the right-of-way dedication on James ranges anywhere from 43 feet at the north to 56 feet halfway through, and then 54 down to 51. But we are dedicating the right-of-way to where we are 30 feet off the center line of James. And half street improvements are part of this project. That was also included in our plans. Sidewalks, curb, all the fun stuff. As far as the easements that Ms. Noble was talking about, we added easements to both sides of all the common areas. If there's additional easement that is needed, we'd be more than glad to provide that. I'm unsure what those areas are, but that would be a simple fix. Really, the outstanding issue that we have is on these radiuses. If you look at, there are 4 curves in question. We've got a curve there around lot number 42, 33, 53, and 68. We chose to use a 75-foot radius there instead of a 100-foot radius because you get the same sight distance with a 75 and 100-foot radius. But a 75-foot radius will cause people to slow down. These are going to be a residential development with nice homes. There's going to be kids. We would like to, employ what we can to try to control the speed of people going around the subdivision. So therefore, we felt like the 75-foot radius is in fact viable in this case. Now, if the commission says no, we want the 100-foot radius, that too is something we can fix really quick. We just wanted to have this dialogue with you tonight before we went through and made the change.
Standard-wise, Laura, is that any issues with street standards with your office?
As far as the radius? I mean, I understand the reasoning behind making it 75 foot, but I mean, in the UDC, it says for residential streets to be 100. So that's what the comment came from. And then as far as the right-of-way dedication, the dimensions on Mountain Springs show from the center line to the property line being 25 feet. So that's why the comment was about that. And I see where you say right-of-way dedication per plat, but the dimension says 25 feet. That's not the PDF we received. My PDF says 25 feet.
Oh, you're talking about Mountain Springs Road.
Yes.
Yeah, you got 25 feet from here to here, but then you've got that 5-foot that is the dedicated.
You're saying it's unclear, that it should be 30 foot and should state that on the plat.
Mr. Lemon, since we have some pretty long straight stretches, are there planned traffic calming speed bumps or mounds or something to slow traffic?
I'm sure occasional little speed bump, slow traffic down. Do you have a problem with that? Yeah, it's a good idea. As long as we don't make them, like a curb stop, make them long enough that they do something besides blow out a tire.
Yeah, and I appreciate the common spaces too, just giving the neighborhood some breathing room, green areas. It looks like most of those are where you've got some drainage.
Right.
sort of existing or pre-existing drainage areas.
Yeah, this property is on top of a hill. Water drains literally in 4 different directions.
Commissioners, have any other questions?
Are we allowing the 75-foot radius, or we need to stick with 100? And if it's 75, does the fire department have a problem with that?
Those drive over the curb, right? And I appreciate the thought of squeezing those down a little bit and making it a little less, wide open for higher speeds. There's been a lot of discussion about that in other cities about narrowing even streets in some instances to reduce traffic speeds. So I don't have a problem with it. Any other questions from commissioners? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat with contingencies and the waiver on the radius as discussed.
Motion to approve with contingencies.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner O'Gwen. Have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Now, Mr. Chairman, does that include the 75-foot radius?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Prater,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
All right, 5-0. The preliminary plat is approved.
Thank you very much. My last project here tonight. I appreciate you letting me have the first 30 minutes or so.
Thank
Thanks.
you. All right. Next item of business, Laura.
Final plat, Wolf's Bridge at Cabot, Phase 1A, Joe White and Associates. Okay, this is a final plat approval for Wolf's Bridge at Cabot, Phase 1A. This is located off of Highway 89 on the south side of Cabot. This is a brand newly developed subdivision. It's approximately 15 acres in size. They are platting 48 residential lots that will include 4 detention ponds, as well as they've already completed all the streets and infrastructure. There are a few outstanding items within the staff report. Some of those items have already been discussed with the applicant and are being currently addressed. So some of the outstanding items in the staff report that you see are currently being addressed and will be addressed prior to getting signatures on everything. So again, this development is connecting to an existing subdivision, so we will have connectivity. And then on the next agenda item, it will be an additional final plat that will get us out to Highway 89 for access for more residential lots. The applicant is in the audience if you have any questions for him or if you have any other questions for me.
Thank you, Laura. Does the applicant have any other items? Brian?
Good evening, Brian Dale with Joe White and Associates. I think Laura did a great job introducing it. It was quite a while ago that we were before you with the preliminary plat. We had to get a core permit, and then we had some issues with sewer and water we had to work through, but we're finally here. We're finally at the end. We do have a few cleanup items that we're working with staff on. We'll get those cleaned up, and then hopefully we'll be applying for some building permits.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions, commissioners? If none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the final plat.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Lowe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please. Laura?
Lowe,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
All right, 5-0. Final plat is approved. Next item, Laura.
Final plat, Wolf's Bridge at Cabot, Phase 1B, Joe White and Associates. Okay, this is Wolf Ridge at Cabot, Phase 1B. This parcel is adjacent to the plat that you just approved, except this size. This property is about 3.8 acres in size to the east of the just approved preliminary plat. This plat is approving 13 residential lots as well. They have already done all the improvements for infrastructure. There are a couple outstanding items in the staff report that they are already currently working to address. This property will access Highway 89 as well as have access to the adjacent subdivision for connectivity. Other than that are just a couple minor outstanding items that, again, that they are currently addressing.
Thank you, Laura. Brian, anything else?
That pretty much sums it up. If you recall, we submitted this in 2 phases because Phase 1A had Cabot water. Phase 1B is served by Grand Prairie water. So to make it clean and everything with the health department and all the jurisdictions, we've kept them separate, but we're going to plat them together at the same. We're going to plat them at the same time and dedicate the streets at the same time.
So this zone of lots, this is Grand Prairie on this side?
Yes, sir.
And that's where the dividing line is? That's where it stops?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, have any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve with the staff comments.
Motion to approve with staff comments.
A motion from Commissioner Byrd. Second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Knack,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, final plat is approved. Thank you,
Thank
Brian.
you.
All right, next item of business, Laura.
Final plat, 1120 West Main Street, Arnold Consulting Engineering Services. Okay, this is a final plat for a piece of property that's located at 1120 West Main Street. There is not a staff report in the packet due to this item being a staff comment when the site plan for the next agenda item was submitted. There was not a plat submitted for this piece of property, so it was commented during tech review. So the applicant is asking for an approval based on the contingencies that they will address all comments that staff has when staff gets a chance to review the plat of this property. And the applicant is here if you have any questions for them.
Okay, does the applicant have any other comments to add to?
Good afternoon. Brandy Zachary with Arnold Consulting Engineering. I don't really have anything else to add. I think it's a minor plat that Laura told us. We're consolidating some existing lot lines just so that it's just one lot instead of multiple lots.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners have any questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Gwynn. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Byrd. A roll call vote, please, Laura.
Prater,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, the final plat is approved. All right, next item, Laura.
Site plan, Take 5 oil change, Arnold Consulting Engineering Services. Okay, this is a site plan approval for Take 5 oil change that will be located at 1120 West Main Street. The property's about half an acre in size. They are intending to demo the existing two buildings, that are on the property and build a quick oil change with parking. Some of the utilities will be reconstructed for the development. There were some staff comments, but they have addressed almost all the items in the staff report. There are just 2 minor outstanding ones that are just related to the proposed sign that they may be having on the site, as well as some parking lot lights that need to be added at the driveways. But other than that, They've pretty well addressed the outstanding items that were in the staff report. Just a couple minor ones that can be addressed with the staff and the applicant. And if you have any questions, again, the applicant is here if you have any questions on this site plan.
Thank you, Laura. Brandy, is there anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so. We've been working with Laura pretty closely, so.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? If none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion from Commissioner Byrd. Got a
Second.
Second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Lowe,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
And 5-0, site plan is approved. All right, next item of business.
All right, our last item is site plan Cabot Fire Training Facility, half. Okay, this is a site plan approval for the Cabot Fire Department Training Facility that's going to be located on Kerr Station Road. It will also have access to South Adams on the rear of the property. This is actually already a platted lot. It is Lot 2 of the Cabot Animal Sport Services addition that's already been platted. The property is about 12, just a little over 12 acres in size. They are asking for a site plan approval with a very small building on for the Cabot Fire Department's training facility. There was only really one outstanding item within the staff report as far as planning was concerned, as far as easements need to be shown on the site plan. And then the water department just had one outstanding item as far as having the same size of the flow meter as the water line or on the fire line side. Other than that, all the comments were addressed by staff. The applicant is here if you have any questions for them on this facility.
Thank you, Laura. Folks from HAF?
Yes, sir. My name is Brett Mahan. I'm with HAF. We're just proposing this fire training facility for Chief Moore and the fire department here. They'll have a building that is going to be, it's already prepackaged. They have it ready. We have a fence around the outside with 3 strands of barbed wire at the top to keep people from getting in there. There will be landscaping along the road to keep, just for visuals to the building. We provided enough detention there's a giant new concrete pad on there for fire truck training, and we provided enough detention for that. And there's also additional storage in the pond for Chief Moore would like his guys to be able to train getting water out of a pond. And so it will have additional water in there for that. But I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Brett, I've got a question for you. Since there's adjacent residential areas, how are you treating lighting and making sure we have cutoffs and not, having light cascade over into the residential areas?
Yes, sir. Are you talking about on the east side?
Yeah, site lighting on the property.
Oh, yes, sir. We'll have 2 site lights at the entrance, at the front, like where you pull into the driveway. I believe there's 2 proposed lights there.
But it'll have cutoffs. I mean, I just don't, floodlights facing residential areas, just don't want to have light spilling over into residential spaces.
Yes, sir. I can ask the client about making sure we have those.
Commissioners, have any other questions? Bobby, you got any issues with this project? Okay.
Long time coming.
That's right.
Having to do any sidewalks and half-street improvements, they have to do that? Okay.
Those are included in the plans.
Yeah, there's a site plan along Kerr Station Road. No questions? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Lowe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ooh, that was fast. I'm going to give it to Byrd. Commissioner Byrd, roll call vote, please, Laura.
Knack,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, site plan is approved. You guys are ready to go home, right? That was. Where was those votes earlier, huh? Come on. All right, we're going to move into community input. Anyone here left? Jeffrey, any comments? Okay. All right. We will go ahead and adjourn. Have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
All in
Motion.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we adjourn. We'll see you next month. Thank you, guys.